On the show, a major Northeast verdict. We tell you how the states of Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland fared in the recently held assembly polls. Multilateralism is in crisis. Prime Minister Modi urges G20 countries to come together on global issues. The Supreme Court forms a 6-member expert committee to probe the Adani-Hindenburg case. We tell you about India's turbulent neighborhood and the crisis in Nepal. And get to know why self-styled Sikh preacher Amrit Pal Singh is in the spotlight. This and more, Top Angle starts right here, right now. Well, the BJP has all the reasons to cheer today. The consolidation of control over Northeast has been reaffirmed with its performances in Tripura and Nagaland. In Nagaland, the NDPP plus BJP raced into the lead right from the beginning and maintained position throughout. Well, now BJP's victory in Tripura was celebrated with gusto, merrymaking and jubilation at the party's election office in Agartala. Slogans of Narendra Modi Zindabad and Jai Shri Ram filled the air as revelers exchanged sweets, lit firecrackers and even played an early Holi. Well, the party's victory was assured as its candidates were ahead of the opposition Left Congress and Tripura Motha, leading in more than half of the seats of 60-member assembly. After the election results for the Meghalaya Assembly were declared, supporters of Chief Minister Conrad Sangma's National People's Party burst into celebrations. Supporters danced in the streets and exchanged sweets. Meanwhile, in Nagaland, nephew Rio of the Nationalist Democratic Progressive Party and the BJP alliance has won the polls in that particular state. But take a look at this. Multilateralism is in crisis. This is what has been declared by the Prime Minister as he urged the G20 countries to find common ground on global issues. Prime Minister Modi also outlined the need for global institutions to operate with unity of purpose and action. And steering the talks towards the issues affecting the global south, the Prime Minister also pointed out how developing countries have been at the receiving end of the spiral of unsustainable debt and global warming created by the richer countries.
We must all acknowledge that multilateralism is in crisis today. The experience of the last few years, financial crisis, climate change, pandemic, terrorism and wars clearly shows that global governance has failed.
When over the next 2 days, foreign ministers of the G20 will hold meetings in the national capital, Delhi. The focus will be on strengthening multilateralism and the need for reforms in multilateral bodies. Other issues also included food, energy security, rising inflation, developmental cooperation, addressing the demand slump in goods and services, and the ever-increasing prices of food, fuel, and fertilizers. Talks will also be held on counter-terrorism and emerging threats, the global skill mapping, and humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. Take a look at this. The Supreme Court has agreed to set up an independent committee to review fraud allegations against the Adani conglomerate. Now, in 2 months' time, this SC-appointed expert panel, headed by retired Justice A.M. Sapre, will have to submit its conclusions. Meanwhile, the top court also acknowledged SEBI's probe on the matter and stated that the market regulator will have to submit its report in 2 months' time as well. Chief Justice Chandrachud, in his order, has stated that SEBI shall investigate if there's been a violation of its S19 rules and whether there was any stock price manipulation as alleged by the US short seller Hindenburg. The Apex Court has said that its committee would make an overall assessment of the situation and suggest measures to make investors aware. The 6-member committee that will review the regulatory mechanism includes O.P. Bhatt, the former chairman of SBI, retired Justice J.P. Devdutt, K.V. Kamath, Nandan Nilekani, and Somasekharan Sundaresan. Moving on. With the war in Ukraine raging for over a year now, and at a time of tectonic shifts in wider geopolitical contours, India and Russia have vowed to stand together. This was the takeaway when External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar met with his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, in the national capital. The two countries vowed to enhance coordination on multilateral forums, including the United Nations, the G20, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and BRICS. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov is in India for the two-day G20 Foreign Ministers' meeting. Lavrov will then go on to attend the Raisina Dialogue 2023. Now, besides enhancing bilateral relations, this top-level meeting essentially highlights India and Russia's mutual resolve to stand together on the global stage. However, the Ukraine conflict featured significantly as well. India and Russia are said to have essentially compared each other's notes on the war in Ukraine. The two nations have kept in close contact since the crisis began a year ago. Moscow's concerns mainly have to do with the sanctions that have been imposed by the Western countries. Per reports, Lavrov said, and I quote, "Russia is firmly against sanctions, blackmails, and threats." And India's neighborhood is becoming more turbulent. Barring Bangladesh and Bhutan, many of the bordering countries stare at economic and political instability. Nepal, which is a crucial buffer state with China, is now on the brink of another political turmoil. The Himalayan state of Nepal, caught between the geopolitical rivalry of two Asian giants, India and China, is now facing a new political crisis. The latest crisis is again a battle of supremacy between Maoist leader P.K. Dahal, who is also Nepal's Prime Minister, and CPN-UML's K.P. Sharma Oli, with the Nepali Congress pulling the strings from behind. P.K. Dahal's CPN, during Nepal's presidential election, decided to support the Nepali Congress's candidate for the post. This outraged the CPN-UML and considered it as a betrayal. P.K. Dahal, also popularly known as Prachanda, has now been forced to seek a trust vote in the parliament. Nepal's rupee is holding against stronger currencies thanks to it being pegged along with the Indian rupee. India has allowed Nepal unlimited borrowing of Indian rupee, ensuring that its currency does not face a free fall. Sri Lanka is yet to stabilize, as China's approval for an IMF loan based on the proposed debt sustainability analysis remains elusive. Its foreign exchange reserves stand at $500 million, pushing inflation even higher. Pakistan faces food and fuel shortages, which has already destroyed and raised tensions within the country. Its foreign exchange reserves are at a record low, and China or its traditional allies are yet to promise a bailout. Take a look at Maldives' economy. It is yet to recover from the lows seen during the COVID crisis, while Myanmar is firmly under military junta rule, playing second fiddle to China. Afghanistan, under the Taliban, is yet to be integrated with the world. Now, this leaves India as the only island of stability in the subcontinent, the only common factor for neighborhood turbulence being Chinese investment and political interference. Now, India's foreign policy needs to get up to face China's creating chaos in this particular neighborhood with deeper economic commitments that pull these countries out of China's orbit. Next up, last week, a large group of men led by the pro-Khalistan preacher Amrit Pal Singh stormed Ajnala jail near Amritsar. They belonged to an outfit called Varis Punjab De, which was founded by late actor Sandeep Singh, popularly known as Deep Sidhu, in 2021. 6 months ago, Amrit Pal had taken over as the leader of the organization following Deep Sidhu's death in a car crash. Last week, thousands of angry men, armed with swords, sticks, and guns, stormed the Ajnala jail in Amritsar. The mission was to break free a close aide of Amrit Pal, Lovepreet Singh Tufan. Now, Tufan was being held for the alleged kidnapping of a man who had publicly criticized Amrit Pal Singh. Then, though the mob could not succeed in freeing Lovepreet, a day later, the police released him from custody, saying there was sufficient evidence of his innocence. Now, the extraordinary attack by Varis Punjab De has ignited fears in the state about the resurgence of the Khalistan movement. Amrit Pal Singh also visibly models himself after Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale, one of the Khalistan movement's most, if not the most recognizable leaders, who was killed at the Golden Temple in Amritsar during the Operation Blue Star in the year 1984. Now, the man at the center of attention, Amrit Pal, is being touted as Bhindranwale 2.0. He is seen by members of Varis Punjab De as the leader who will re-establish the Khalistan project, a separate sovereign Sikh state that encompasses Punjab in both India and Pakistan. Amrit Pal Singh was born in 1993 near Amritsar. He dropped out of school after class 12th in 2012 and flew to Dubai to work with his uncle's transport company. According to the police, he was attracted to the Varis Punjab Day movement when it was floated in the year 2021. Amrit Pal contacted the movement's founder, Deep Sidhu, online. The two became close and eventually Amrit Pal fully adopted the pro-Khalsa lifestyle. He stopped trimming his hair and took part in a formal Sikh baptism ceremony last September. And that's when he drew the attention of the Punjab police, who were surprised by the large crowd that had gathered at the ceremony, which was held in Rode, the birthplace of Bhindranwale. And when Deep Sidhu was killed in a road accident last year, Amrit Pal Singh took over. He has since become massively popular among the youth of Punjab. His rise also marks a shift in Punjab's politics, especially related to Sikh identity, which is closely tied to the holy scripture like the Guru Granth Sahib and defending it against any act of sacrilege. Amrit Pal's messaging addressed two broad issues: disillusionment among a youth population hit by unemployment and drug abuse, and the lack of leaders who will stand up for the core ideals of Sikhism. Now, he has exploited young people who feel they have been betrayed by the party in power, the Aam Aadmi Party, and the party that is supposed to be the keeper of the Sikh faith, the Shiromani Akali Dal. Unless the core issues that Amrit Pal has raised are addressed, he is likely to occupy the political vacuum in the state, leading to greater turmoil in the days to come. Take a look at this as well. Shedding off the hermit look of the Bharat Jodo Yatra fame, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi turned up at his alma mater, Cambridge University, to deliver a student-only lecture. Rahul Gandhi called for new thinking to promote a democratic environment globally. He is on a week-long tour of the United Kingdom, where he will be speaking to the Indian diaspora over there as well. Well, now, speaking at the Judge Business School on the topic of learning to listen in the 21st century, the Congress leader pointed to the decline in manufacturing being seen in democracies like India and the United States in recent years, due to major corporations having offshored their manufacturing to China. He said that this industry pivot has led to mass inequality and anger, which needs urgent attention and dialogue. Rahul Gandhi's lecture to the MBA students revolved around the importance of people around the world finding a way of listening compassionately to new concerns in the 21st century. In his week-long tour, he is also scheduled to hold closed-door sessions on big data and democracy and India-China relations at Cambridge University as well. Well, Rahul Gandhi said, and I quote, "We simply cannot afford a planet that doesn't produce under democratic systems." So, we need to think about how you produce in a democratic environment compared to a coercive environmental negotiation about this. Well, on that note, it's the end of this edition of Top Angle. Do check out incisive news analysis and cutting-edge documentaries streaming only on News 9. Thanks for watching.